Hi everyone, we're going to talk about standards-based report cards, 4321 grading, and parent-teacher conferences today. This is Charlie Ernest, principal of Franklin Middle School. I want to go over some information so we're all prepared for parent-teacher conferences. This is the first time that our students of 7th graders and 8th graders will experience parent-teacher conferences under the standards-based report card system. Of course, our 6th graders were able to experience this last year as 5th graders. So let's talk about the expectations, the strategies, tips, and ideas for having a successful parent-teacher conference and explaining standards-based report cards in a way that parents can understand. Because remember, us as teachers, we were under a system of A, B, C, D grading our whole life, so that's what we know. The same thing for our parents. So this requires a little bit of education at the get-go. All right, so next we want to talk about the beginning of conferences. This is a technique that is recommended, it's highly recommended, that you use AIDIT to start off all of your conference. AIDIT is an acronym. It's written about in Quint Studer's book from 2008, Results at Last, and the acronym AIDIT stands for Acknowledge, Introduce, Duration, Explanation, and Thank You. So, of course, first when the parent comes in, this is just common sense. This is just politeness. You want to make sure that you acknowledge the parent, say hello, and then use their name. Dale Carnegie says that a person's most important, the sweetest word in any language is their very own name. So make sure you call the parent by name and treat them with respect that we know that you will. The I stands for introduce. Make sure that you introduce yourself and your skill set. This will build credibility in the parent and actually help their confidence right up front, so they know that you are, an educational professional and that you know what you're doing. It really helps. A great example of this is if you go to the doctor. If the doctor gives you their credentials right up front before you're going to have surgery, it's going to help with the whole procedure and everything else. Makes you feel relaxed, makes you feel confident. Duration, make sure you talk about how long you've got for parent-teacher conferences. Of course, these are all scheduled, so make sure that the parents know what the time structure is. Then E for explanation, go into detail about the important aspects. The main thing we're talking about, of course, because it's the end of the quarter, is standards-based report cards and 4-3-1 grading. And then last but not least, make sure that you thank them. Thank them for visiting the school and attending the meeting. All right, 4-3-2-1 grading. Make sure that it's very important that we point out what a 4 means, what a 3 means, what a 2 means, and what a 1 means. And you can see the information on the screen there. A good correlation is to talk about advanced, proficient, basic, and minimal, and what each of those means. So it's very important that you take the time to give them. We've got handouts for this. You can make copies of the handouts, show that to the parents so they understand it. Along those same lines, it may be important to use a metaphor or an analogy. One that many people use is riding a bike. If you think about it, when you start out riding a bike, most of us are at a minimal level. That's with training wheels. That's how we start. So we can do it with help. We can ride a bike with help when we're 4 years old, for example. Then people move on to a basic level of riding on their own and taking short trips from home. Imagine yourself pedaling, but being pretty wobbly, but you can pedal, you can ride a bike. Eventually we practice and we move on to a proficient level, and that's like a 3. A proficient level, hey, almost all humans can ride a bike. You can jump on a bike, you can ride it, you even remember it years later because you reach a proficient level of riding a bike. And then the advanced level is a smaller percentage of people. Those are the people that can do the BMX tricks. Those are the people that can do the jumps, or those are the distance bicyclists, or those are the people that can ride very fast. So that's the advanced level, and that's a much smaller percentage of human beings, and that's just like 4s and 4-ables in grading. That's a very small percentage of people that will actually get a 4. And you can remind parents also that largely intelligence is a function of experience. With support, almost anyone can get to a 3 level, and then with extra support, people can, if they're dedicated, they can get to a 4 level. All right, standards-based report cards, some keywords and key times that it's important that we say to our parents during parent-teacher conferences. This is grading for learning. 4-3-2-1 grading really does not have any A, B, C, D correlation. I know sometimes that we say The new A is a 3, but really we have to be careful about any type of correlation or any type of example to A, B, C, D. It is a completely different grading system. That may be hard to communicate, but probably the best way to communicate is to say that we're using advanced, proficient, basic, and middle. There's really no correlation between A, B, C, D. Advanced is that top few percent. Proficient is where we want to be. Basic is the next level, and then the minimal is something that kids can do with help. And we always want to get kids to at least the basic level. Of course, we're shooting for proficient and advanced. Standards-based report cards also breaks down a grade into standards. Instead of simply getting a B in math, for example, a parent may find that their student is proficient in one area, but minimal in another. And if you're really looking at improving ourselves academically, students academically over time, we want to know our areas of strength. We also want to know our areas in which we need more work. More keywords at key times. Standards-based report cards provide a more detailed and comprehensive picture of a student's academic progress. And then also really under the old system, an A was not a true measure of advanced under the letter grade system. There were plenty of kids that got an A under the old system. It was kind of a feel-good A. It's because they turned all their grades, all their homework in in time. It's because they were not a problem behaviorally in the classroom. Well, that's all fine and good under the old system, but that's not grading for learning. Standards in teaching are the goals of teaching and learning. All right. A next thing that's important to talk to parents about, there's years of research and development that went into the development of standards-based report cards, not only in the school district of Janesville, but just across education. And so many districts have moved to standards-based report cards in the past. Of course, there's tons of educational research that supports standards-based report cards, and for grading for learning, there's Gusky and Bailey, there's O'Connor, there's Marzano. And these are just examples of some of the references there. There's newer works out as well with others. But when you talk about Gusky, when you talk about O'Connor, and you talk about Marzano, those are three pretty solid and well-respected researchers in education. It would be hard to find people that are more well-respected and thorough than those three right there. Okay, when you get to the point in the parent-teacher conference where you have to review the report card, it's really important that you take your time with this. Parents may go right to the overall grade, which is kind of natural. I mean, old habits die hard, but it's important to inform parents that summative assessments comprise 95% of the grade and formative assessments comprise 5% of the grade. It's important as a teacher that you understand the difference between a summative and a formative. Remember, a formative, use the STEM, a formative forms your instruction as a teacher and forms the learner's idea of how they're doing. It forms it, so that's practice. Practice is 5%, okay? You don't win a game through practice, but certainly practice can help you prepare you to win the game. So, with that then, summatives comprise 95% of a grade in our system of putting together standard-based report cards in 4-3-2-1 grading. That is, summatives are a summary or a sum of all that we have learned through formation, through practice. So the summary is a summary after you've done the practice, after you've done the formatives. So the summaries are things like quizzes, are things like large projects, are things like tests, unit tests that summarize. It's a summative of what you've learned. All right, now here's another important part of the report card that we have to review. The overall subject grade is calculated by averaging each standard. So, for example, if a student gets a 1 in the first standard, a 3 in the second standard, a 2 in the third standard, and a 2 in the fourth standard listed, he or she will have a 2 for an overall grade. Of course, we want to point out what they're doing well, that 3 in that second standard, and then point out where we might need some extra time and support with the 1 in the first standard used in this example. Okay, so those are the type of good conversations that we want to have with parents. I remember years ago having a parent-teacher conference for my kindergartner. At that time, the teacher could tell me, that they knew 24 of the 26 letters, for example. That's a pretty in-depth way of looking at things, and it's more descriptive just to saying, well, they got a C or a B in spelling, for example. Okay. Also, in reviewing the report card, it's very important to give students the opportunity to retake all summative assessments because with a 1, because we at least want kids at the basic level. Of course, we really want them at the proficient level or even the advanced level, 3s, even 4s. And yes, I know 4s are hard to get. Also, in reviewing the report card, remember to focus on the strengths and point out the areas that need more work. Remember, under the old system, this was just not easily identifiable. Kids just got a B, for example, in math or in social studies, but it didn't really tell the parent what they knew specifically. It was a hodgepodge grade. It was just an overall grade, 1 stamp on a report card. Now we're really breaking things down, making sure that we're covering the curriculum, that we're covering the standards, and informing parents which standards kids are doing well on and which standards possibly they need more time, more support on. All right, in conclusion, 4-3-2-1 grading and standards-based report cards are about grading for learning. Remember, there's no real correlation between 4-3-2-1 and ABCD grading. Some parents may think that the 4-3-2-1 is a grade point average. We want to guard against that as well. So 4-3-2-1 is more like advanced, proficient, basic, and minimal. 4-3-2-1 than it is ever about A, B, C, D, and an F. Also, in concluding, it's important to point out to parents that this is an implementation year at the middle schools. It's not a pilot. It's not a pilot year. It's an implementation year. We're going to continue to do this, and we're going to continue to get better at it. We're learning as well. We are the experts, yes, but we're learning as well, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that they have. Also, there's years of preparation and planning that led into this. If you think back, the school districts, or the schools in the school district of Janesville, they've been talking about Gusky, and they've been talking about no zeros for years. It's finally now that a structure like standards-based report cards and 4-3-2-1 grading really force us to make the changes that we've been talking about for a long time. So again, this truly is grading for learning. Yes, there can be growing pains whenever you switch to a new system, but this truly is for the right purposes, and it is about grading for learning. Finally, then, you want to thank the parents for coming. If they have questions that you cannot answer, please take down their questions and then tell them we will get back to them. So record their question, tell them that you will get back to them with the correct answer, and then see someone with the right answer, and then make sure that you follow up. All right. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this screencast. Hopefully it was informative and helpful. If you have any questions, make sure that you contact either me, Charlie Ernest, or the academic learning coach, Kathy Murray. Have a great day and a great conference.